front of you. And thanks a lot to NPTI USA for giving me this opportunity. My name is Abhishek, so working with consulting as he mentioned, and prior to that with distribution utilities and renewable power generators in the country, be it hydro, solar, wind, storage, etc. Started my career in '98 in IT industry, that is software. Then after 6 years I shifted. Working with previous employers is situated just next to this building in HPC. You might have seen them, National Hydro Power Corporation. So the topic is in front of you, and would request, I mean, I'm told that you're from 3 different nations, right? So which all nations are we from? Nepal, Bhutan and Sri Lanka, right? So all of you are in system operations in your respective nations, right? And managing systems at the national level. And very interesting, and it's not only a one-sided, but it's a two-sided, double-sided. Maybe I'll also learn from you what you guys are facing, probably. What is the RE penetration level in Sri Lanka, by the way, in terms of, say, megawatt? How many megawatts? What is the total installed capacity and what is RE capacity? Maybe RE, when I say, it is solar, wind and hydro, large hydro, all 3. Bhutan is also here, right? You're from Bhutan. So Bhutan, how much? I think entire thing is hydro. No? Anything else? You have thermal? No. Entire thing is hydro. Any wind? So your entire demand is being met from hydro, and you are also selling surplus hydro to India, right? Through power exchange and I think PPA also. Tala is in Bhutan or Nepal? Bhutan. So Tala is, because I was in Delhi when I used to have the PPAs, I mean right now also you have PPA with Delhi, apart from other nations, right? So entirely hydro, 100% renewable, you are already there, right? So very nice. What about Nepal? Nepal, what is the mix? Thermal, hydro, solar, wind, I don't know.
Basically, thermal is just nominal, say it's around 20 right? That is not in use. So dominantly it is hydro-based. And renewables, we are going from solar and basically solar, grid-connected solar plants also. And there is Nepal Electricity Authority is the main utility, and besides that, there is one alternative energy research program from Ministry that has installed around 77 megawatts of renewables, including small hydro and solar winds in rural parts. And altogether, it's around, I think, 200, maximum
200 megawatt, right? So, and what is the peak demand for Nepal? How much?
Peak demand in whole year, it's around 2300.
2300 megawatt. And out of this 2300, mostly from large hydro, we are being met. Do you also purchase power from somewhere?
Yeah, from India.
From India, what kind of? From exchange or PPA?
There are bilateral contracts also, and there are from exchange.
Exchange also. So exchange would be brown power, day ahead market, something, right?
It's, for selling purpose, we prefer bilateral, and for selling.
You exchange. So selling is for bilateral, right? Okay,
We
good.
prefer.
But selling is also in, right. Fine, this is Newcom, right? Thank you. Sorry for my bad throat. So, yeah, please.
Yeah. We import seasonally and we export the other season. It is matching the complement.
That is perfectly fine. So, most likely in the winter months they require power. Being Himalayan state, you have heating load in the winter months. And in the summer months, probably you are exporting power because a lot of hydro generation is there. So this is very typical of, like for example in India also, states like UP, Delhi, Punjab, which are in northern plains, they require power during the summer months or monsoon months. And hydro states like JNK, Uttarakhand, Himachal, Meghalaya, They export power. So in the sense, banking export to Delhi, and then in winter they require power, heating load, very similar to what. Now this is very good, and I'm very pleased to also understand that there is a lot of cross-border energy transaction and trade happening, and this is bound to increase as well. So Nepal, Bhutan especially, you have a lot of hydro which is stable, and that can be a very good resource to balance out the very good renewable energy in Indian subcontinent. Sri Lanka, so India is having some transmission link with your country, undersea cable or overhead, what is it? Still not there. Is there any plan you are aware of?
And there is a transporting connection by around 2040.
2040, undersea cable. No, very good. Thank you. So, you are aware that in Tamil Nadu coast and outside of your nation, India is planning offshore wind. Southern coast you have not heard of. There is already a tender floated. Now that offshore wind, when it comes up, this is in the sea. It's not on the land, this is on the sea. So that can be also mutually beneficial for Sri Lanka as well as India. Because that power can be wheeled to you as well. Okay, and then the cost can be shared, and therefore the overall tariff can be good. So let's talk about the impact and challenges of large RE penetration. We are all very clear as to why are we talking about renewable energy. I mean, the life is anyway simple now. What is the average load growth in your country, for example, in Nepal? Every year, how many percentage points does it grow?
It is quite significant now.
Quite significant.
Yes. It was around 1800, 1900 last year. It is now 2600.
2600. And is it around the clock increase or some specific time blocks it is increasing? Rest is not.
It is quite significantly increasing.
Significant. And what could be the reason why? Where is the demand coming from?
From urbanized and also we are increasing our exports also.
Exports to India.
And our urbanization as well as industrialization.
Industrialization, right? Good, very good. And in India, as you know, so maybe you are aware, 50% or more than 50% of the demand is cooling demand. So it's a tropical country, unlike maybe Nepal, Bhutan, you have hills and mountains, right? So your maximum temperature not be that much, unlike India, plains. So here you see the AC load, air conditioning load is very, very, and then it's not about residential only, it's about residential, commercial and industrial. So there are studies which says the demand mostly is cooling load. Okay, heating load is not there. In your case, maybe heating load is there. Okay, so we will talk about this. I'm going to talk from India's perspective, but we'll also touch upon certain aspects of how RE balancing is done across the globe. We'll take some examples from, say, the US or Europe, for example, or Australia. Okay. So we also talk about resource complementarity, some business models we'll talk about case study, technical one. Basically India, Rajasthan, the problem that was faced, and that is part and parcel of when you increase more and more renewable energy sources. We talk about grid balancing control. So what has happened is in India, we have been growing in RE capacity leaps and bounds. October 2023, this was almost a year ago, and February 434, now we are at about 448 gigawatt installed, around 446 to 448 gigawatt installed capacity, and coal still dominates, so coal still dominates, but then by turn of this decade, the reduction in coal is expected in terms of percentage points, capacity, megawatt, these are all in megawatt terms, or gigawatt terms. Now, energy penetration wise, today, pan-India basis, if you exclude large hydro, the solar and wind share in the overall India annual generation is about 10 to 11% energy, because the capacity utilization factor of solar and wind is lower, as we know. So maybe around, say, solar would be, a utility scale would be around, say, good 125, and good wind maybe at a 24-35% CUF. Unlike coal, where the PLF is 85% and beyond. Okay, so good coal plants, if the demand is sufficient, they are running even at 100% PLF, 100% PLF. Now, in energy terms, today which we are at 10-11% in India, and if you add hydro, another 10%, so we are at 20-21%. And by 2030, that 20% is going to be around, say, 25% plus. Okay, so including large hydro. In fact, that is one of the pledges that we have taken, 50% non-fossil. So India has said non-fossil. So anything which is other than natural gas and coal is non-fossil. Okay, that includes nuclear, large hydro, solar, wind, biomass, bioenergy, small hydro, everything. Okay, so that is the case. Today we are at, we expect to add another 100 gigawatt of wind by turn of this decade. And we are at around, say, 47 gigawatt today. This is figures of March 24. In the last 3-4 months, some more megawatts have been added. And solar is almost double, close to double. Solar, we are adding a lot. And this has its own nuance, because when you add solar, you would have a problem of Dhaka with it, right? So that's what you're doing. Now, solar wind 30%, 53% capacity. If you add hydro, this 30% becomes 40% by 2030. And when you talk about energy resources map, we are rich in wind, solar here. Hydro is all this Himalayan belt, and you are here, Bhutan, Nepal, so you are also rich in hydro here. The point is, this is going to provide balancing power support to this area. Coal is here, by the way. This is coal, mainly. And these small patches are all, so pink ones are wind, yellow ones are solar. Okay. Now, southern and western part of the country, this is totally wind and solar. Hydro is across north and northeast, this portion. Coal is here, Damodar Valley, Chhattisgarh, Bengal, then MP, this area. And the resource complementarity. What do you mean by resource complementarity here? So, resource complementarity means, unlike coal, wind profile varies from time to time, time of day, time of year, time of week, every time, right? So, the same wind plant may not generate exactly the same megawatt in the same time on a different day and different year. But there is a pattern. So, for example, Odisha, the wind plant in Odisha, the study is done, generate during non-solar hours, evening hours in the winter months. Whereas the wind plant here in Karnataka, Andhra, they are peaking during monsoon months of July and August. In the mostly in the off-peak hours meaning non-solar hours. But in winter they don't. So when you construct a plant here and a plant here, and if you aggregate them, then you would have a supply which is throughout the year. And you'll ask me, Abhishek, these plants are not connected, how are you saying this? India has a copper plate kind of grid structure. So entire thing, all the north, east, northeast, west and southern region, they are all interconnected through a very strong grid. Okay, so power grid person was there, he would have told you, and we have inter-regional grid connectivity which is at about 715 gigawatt, planning to increase to 150 gigawatt by the turn of the decade. Inter-regional, all these 5 regions which I told you. Okay, and we have a regulation called General Network Access. They have to talk about GNA now. So GNA, as per the GNA regulations, you can inject anywhere and draw anywhere. So therefore it is a copper plate. Of course, if there are some local technical constraints, there is a grid code, there is a CRC GNA regulations under which strengthening is being done. The CTU, that is the Central Transmission Utility, is the planning authority which does that. There is a process for that. Now, if you talk about renewable, and now this is slightly, you would say, academic. Integration of different RE sources in the grid requires flexibility. So, what is meant by flexibility? Grid flexibility. Any idea, or you can guess something about flexibility? Power system flexibility written here. You have talked about, you have heard about resilience, resilient grid, right? And there is a flexible grid. Now, flexibility in any system responds, refers to or attributes to the capability of system to respond to changes without impacting the reliability of the system. And there is a band in which it can be flexible, beyond that it can't. And within the band of the flexibility, it will operate seamlessly without impacting the reliability of the overall system. Okay, so reliability, resilience means, suppose the ability of the system to revert back to its original position after the impact of certain external interference ceases to exist. That is resilient. So for example, you have a stick, and when you bend it like this, leave it, it will have a pendulum motion, ultimately it will sit at equilibrium. Similarly here the flexibility. Now flexibility exists in and is measured across the value chain of electricity, right from generation, transmission, distribution, then demand side management, and behind the meter. Demand side is behind the meter. So consumers also becoming a very important part. You have rooftop solar in, say, Nepal, for example. We have rooftop solar, right? Sri Lanka also we have rooftop solar, and Bhutan we have. We don't have. Okay. So rooftop solar is nothing but a distributed generation resource, as we all know, right? So this is right at the heart of the demand center, where the generation is happening, right? So anything which is on the demand side is also providing flexibility. You can see here, this is a traditional grid where most of the flexibility is lying at the generation end, and then as you move towards customer distribution side, the flexibility is the least. That means demand has to be met from the grid. Simple meaning. Okay, there is a demand which needs to be met from the grid. Demand will not flex or change itself. Okay. But when you add, for example, storage to the different components in the grid, or you add distributed energy resources like rooftop solar, EV charging, inside the grid, on the distribution side, behind the meter, behind the utility meter, that makes them flexible. And suppose if you have a rooftop solar, at that point in time when the rooftop solar is generating, it is meeting the demand present in your house first, and then if there is surplus, it is getting exported. In other words, with the usage of distributed energy resources, you are meeting your demand without relying on the grid. So the supply is not being taken from the grid. So the net demand for the grid reduces. Net demand for the grid is total demand, otherwise if there was no solar rooftop, minus rooftop solar generation. So that is the net demand from the grid. Grid sees only that demand. Okay. So therefore there is an increase in the flexibility in that part of the grid to meet the load. Okay. To that extent the grid is not getting burdened because the customer is generating itself. Now, you will ask me, okay, fine, this is true for solar hour, what about the non-solar hour? So there could be inverter batteries inside home which are being charged using solar and being discharged in the night time. Do you guys have batteries in your home, maybe in your countries? Maybe for as a UPS or maybe some there is no power and all, right? So India also is very common. So there what is happening is, okay, so you will use them to to charge using solar and then utilize the batteries in the non-solar hours, especially in the peak hours when the grid is getting overloaded or the price on the power exchange, the price of the power of coal or any other plant is very, very high. Okay. So therefore you see the flexibility increases here as well as here, and throughout the grid also increases. Why? There is a storage here at the transmission side, at the distribution side, and last but not the least, sector coupling. So you are aware the electricity forms how much percentage contribution in the total energy basket globally? There is energy, right? And there is electricity. You understand that? Can I delete this one? This is your total energy demand.
Electrical energy.
So this could be electricity. This is about 18 to 20% of the total energy demand. Then you have oil. Okay, where is oil being used? Transportation, aviation, surface transport, shipping, oil-based generation. Then comes your coal, directly being used in steel plants or other industries. Okay. Then comes natural gas. So anything, so NG, coal, oil are also being used to produce electricity. That is captured here. And the non-electricity usage of NG, coal and oil are here. Okay. So natural gas is directly being used in industries also. Or maybe city gas distribution, cooking. Okay, piped natural gas. Okay. So you have natural gas, coal, oil, and then you have bioenergy, biomass, biofuel. Right? So electricity is hardly 18 to 20%. Biomass meaning what? You would have seen in the villages people burning twigs, twigs from the trees for cooking purposes, heating purposes, etc. Similarly, you have those cow dungs being used for, cooking, right? Now, the decarbonization debate that we are having has two aspects. One, increase the share of electricity in energy basket. इसको बढ़ाना है. This has to be going up. Then replace fossil by non-fossil in electricity generation. On these two principles, decarbonization is happening world over. Okay? So therefore you will see end use of energy is being electrified. Electric vehicles, mobility electrification, right? Cooking, electric cooking. Instead of natural gas based cooking, you have electric cooking available. Solar cookers are direct ones. Apart from that, induction cooktops are there, which are which are being used to by using electricity. They can be So transportation. What are the major causes of emissions? सबसे पहला number one is electricity generation, followed by industrial usage of energy. Third is transportation, world over. So you would have petrol pumps in your respective nations, right? Petrol pump, diesel pumps for cars, trucks, two-wheelers, three-wheelers, whatever it is. They are being electrified. That means the share of electricity is going up. Okay, replacement. Now, once you do that, you also simultaneously increase the share of renewable in the overall electricity portfolio basket. Okay, and then your entire thing becomes green, right? Sector coupling meaning excess renewable energy, because renewable energy is getting generated as per the forces of nature. Either you curtail it, or you store it, or you use it at that point in time. Three options. Any one of them you do. And this is continuous basis, right? So what happens is, during sector coupling, suppose the electricity is not being used there and then it can be used to produce, say, hydrogen. Green hydrogen using electrolysis, that point in time. So hydrogen is a fuel, a feedstock for many industries. Steel is one of them, aluminum is one of them. Okay. Similarly, heat, industrial heat is required. Heat is required in many of the industries. So they are reusing heat. So that electricity can be used to generate heat. The electric vehicles we have spoken about. So sector coupling also provides flexibility. Okay. Now this is a single arrow, but it would be a dual arrow. So electric vehicles also inject into the grid. V2G. Okay. So intermittent nature of electricity leads to frequent changes in the net load, which is the difference of total load and PI generation. And flexibility is defined here, which I spoke about. Generation is flexible transmission, flexible demand side resources. So minimum turn down level is the minimum stable limit of a thermal generator unit. In India it is 25% of the rated capacity. Now there are experiments being done reducing it to 40% of the rated capacity. Okay, so if you are interested in more, you can go to IRENA website and you can have a look at it. So it is not working. This is what we are talking about, duck curve. This is for India, and you see this ramp rate requirement in the year 21-22 was 268 megawatt per minute. Now, how is this going to be supported?
Flexible resources.
Flexible resources. What are the flexible resources? For example, thermal plant would have a ramp rate, maybe say 1.5% per megawatt per minute. Okay. We are in India striving towards going towards more than 2 up to 3% rated capacity per minute. But right now it is about between 1 and 2% per minute. So at this point in time, you need a fleet of plants which will aggregate together in tandem to produce this rate. It can't be produced from a single plant, this rate. And this rate is going to increase further when this belly shifts here. And now it is going to shift in the negative side as well. Why? Because we are adding more and more solar. Okay. The moment it comes here, this rate becomes steep and therefore requirement will be going up. Now, this cannot be satisfied only by thermal stations, given the fleet that we have. And therefore, there is a need for additional flexible resources. For example, this is where your hydro plant will come crucial. Okay, in the evening hours, this point, after 3 p.m., 4 p.m. Probably what is going to happen, and is happening already, you would find that the exchange rate in India would be very attractive to you during this period. And then as a system operator, you might find a commercial signal to actually produce more and sell and export to India and earn money out of it. So that is nothing but the value for ramping support that you are getting for your resources. What is the tariff for Tala, by the way? 2.3. Here you may get 10 rupees per unit. Sorry? Bilateral price is the same. What I am saying is, when new resources are being developed, which provides, this is called ancillary service. When you get an ancillary service opportunity, you will have opportunity to earn much more than the normative rate. That's what I this is the opportunity which is coming up. Okay, so you have already started that. Now here I have talked about flexibilization of thermal stations, reducing MTI to 40% and faster ramp rates and lead time. These are some of the terminologies associated with the thermal plant. Okay, just for your information here. This is a duck curve effect. This ramp rate asked by 2030 is going to be 5-fold, 1000 megawatt per minute in India. Can't be met only for thermal resources. It has to be more flexible, battery storage or even your hydro resources, storage hydro. Okay. Now, a resource planning with more flexible and cost optimal resources would be needed. That is what we are talking about, South Asian region as a grid. And slowly, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, BBIN anyway we have, Bangladesh, Bhutan, India, Nepal, then Sri Lanka is there. Maldives is little far away, so that is not possible unless the cables will be very costly. And on this side of the boundary we have Pakistan. So I was in Malaysia 2 days ago and we were discussing something where Pakistan, representative from Pakistan was talking about how they are building more and more coal. I told them you can build a lot of solar and wind inside Pakistan and also you can import a lot of hydro and solar from India as well. That will be cheaper than building an imported coal-based plant. Everybody is bankrupt there. So all I am saying is the regional integration of grid is in interest of everybody. Okay. Regional balancing and sharing of resources is going to help a lot. Something has happened. Oh, no, let's restart. Sorry for this. So while it starts, any queries so far you want to discuss something, let's make it a dialogue instead of a monologue. Any thoughts? Do you think, why this all renewable and all, it's a hassle? We were very peaceful in our earlier days. No? So why do we want more solar and wind? This is the thought process in many of our dispatches in our country. So earlier the thing was that we were very stable, peaceful life. Since then this solar and wind have come, there is a problem. what is there a thumb rule as to if X megawatt of solar and wind are coming on the grid, a percentage of that capacity would be say requirement of storage, right? Now, very good question. There is no straight answer to it. I'll tell you why. See, the forecasting accuracy and forecasting error of renewable energy resources in particular geography varies from geography to geography. So, for example, in temperate climate, the accuracy of forecasting renewable will be accurate compared to tropical, where volatility in the weather is very high. Okay, so the need to have flexibility in the balancing resources would be lower if the flexibility, if the accuracy is higher. So, if the accuracy of predicting the resource is higher, the need for balancing resource or the storage would be lower. Think about coal. Coal is 100% predictable. You have coal inside your plant stored. You can with 100% confidence level, you can say that you will generate 500 megawatt RTC around the clock. Is there a need for balancing requirement? Ideally no, unless and until coal plant fails on some trips on some kind of force outage. Otherwise there is no need for balancing requirement. That is the other side of the spectrum. Talk about wind. The thumb rule could be the balancing resource requirement for a wind plant would be equivalent to mean average annual percentage error mean of that resource at that particular location. Okay. So, but then this make will vary from location to location. As I talked about temperate and tropical climate. Now, there are CA technical regulations 2007 on RE connectivity to the grid. Have you done this? We'll skip that. Otherwise, you not seen this? Okay. Some technical stuff. So in India, for example, you have a RE connectivity, renewable electricity connectivity with the grid. CA is the Central Electricity Authority, and they are the technical body, the highest body in the country, which is the master for all the electricity related, power system related decisions. And this is statutory body. Now there are three aspects. One is reactive power capability, second is high voltage right through, and third is low voltage right through. These three are pillars for assessing whether the RE plant is synchronized seamlessly with the grid. Whenever a new plant is commissioned, these three tests have to be performed, okay, and demonstrated. So low voltage right through is simple. You see here, RE plant shall remain connected and prioritize reactive current injection between this voltage. So this is V1 by V nominal. So V1 is the actual voltage and is the normative voltage. If the ratio or the actual voltage falls from 85% to 15%, that means voltage is reducing. So this is the band where the plant should not disconnect. Actually, it should help prioritize reactive current to inject in the plant, in the grid. When you inject reactive power, that means it is supporting the voltage. Otherwise, what will happen is when the grid voltage falls below due to any reason, the plants will simply decouple, and that will create a cascading impact on the overall load generation balance scenario, leading to ultimate case is blackout of the grid. So, so the grid balance is very flexible. You don't have a very hard coupled thing. So there is a range to it. For example, in your power systems also, in your respective, there would be a normative voltage prescribed by your grid operator or your technical body, and they would give a range plus minus X%. That means within that range, the plant should operate or appliances should operate very successfully. That is the range they have talked about. If the grid voltage falls below 85% up to 15%, then also it should be connected up to 3000 milliseconds.
Beyond that, it will disconnect. Okay, so 3000 milliseconds is the time between which the voltage gets time to get corrected. Okay, you see the voltage rising from here. Beyond that, if it is not corrected, then it is going to disconnect. That is what it is. And this is called low voltage ride through. That means the plant rolled through the low voltage condition for up to 3000 milliseconds. Okay, so this is essential to avoid any outages or decoupling of the RE plant in the grid. Please bear in mind, over voltage, under voltage situations would be very rampant in case of high RE grid, RE rich grid, which was not the case earlier in case of coal or gas, which are very stable. So therefore, we need to build this capability into the RE station. Similarly, you have high voltage right through requirement. Okay, so if the voltage is more than 1.3 times the normative voltage, instantaneous tripping has to happen. It has to decouple. Otherwise, what is going to happen is this is going to destabilize the grid. Voltage is high, meaning supply is more or demand is more? Supply is more, right? So you don't want to add further supply to it. Therefore, instantaneous tripping. If it is between 1.2 to 1.3 times the nominal voltage, up to 0.2 second it will sustain. Beyond that, it will trip. And if it is between 1.2 to 1.10 up to 2 seconds and the voltage is below 10% over voltage, 1.1 times, then it will continuously run. This is called high voltage ride through. Low voltage ride through and high voltage ride through. Then comes your reactive power capability. The converter based generating stations shall be capable of supplying dynamically varying reactive power support so that the power factor of the grid lies between 0.5 lagging and 0.95 lagging and 0.95 leading. So this is a continuous phenomenon. The power factor has to be there. Now you'll ask me, where are you taking this grid voltage reference from? Very important. Then only your converter is deciding that, okay, I have to trip or not to trip or to sustain. If the reference voltage, reference point is erroneous, then the whole exercise becomes futile and it will do a spurious responses. Right? Now, before I go there, what do I mean by spurious responses? What happened? These are the extracts from General Network Access Regulation 2022 and Grid Code Revision 2023 regarding RE integration. So, any plant which is applying to the central transmission utility for connectivity, they have to provide power quality test report, that is at the point of injection, harmonic current, direct current, flicker, then reactive capability test, 0.95 lagging and leading, as I told you in the last slide. Voltage right through both HV and LV, frequency response, active power control set point and ramping capability test. This is a new thing which has happened now in India. So the RE plants are going to respond to the grid frequency every plus minus 0.3 or change in the grid frequency. They have to vary their output, both positive and negative, up to plus minus 10% of their rated AC capacity. This is primary ancillary support by renewable generators, which is not there. It is only there for hydro and thermal, but now it is also mandated for solar and wind. To your question, how much flexibility, battery storage is required, you are asking. It says up to plus minus 10%. So suppose there is a wind plant of 100 megawatt AC rated capacity. So it is required to respond to 110 and 90, up to 90 and on the higher side up to 110 megawatt. Okay, if there is a change in the grid frequency, suppose the grid frequency falls, it has to increase its output and vice versa. So to that aspect, to that extent, the need for storage is obviated, no need storage up to that extent, because plant itself is balancing itself. Now, your question would be, how do you achieve it? So probably either you have certain reserve wind turbines which you switch it on, or you are deliberately running some wind turbines at a lower speed, we can ramp it up, okay, and vice versa. Or you can add storage levels at each of the wind turbine locations. Either way, okay. So that is going to determine how much storage you are going to. So RE stations need to follow the first time charging procedure for connectivity to the grid, and this is a part of the FTC procedure. Okay. Now, okay, so this was FTC first time charging. These are the technical things that have to be considered. I was talking about something else. What did I say? Just forgetting. What did I want to tell you? That's it. Okay, let me come back. Resource complementarity. See, here what happens is these are sites in Rajasthan where co-located solar and wind plants are there.
Sir, I think you were saying a ramping capability test was added on this.
Ramping capability tests were added by grid code regulations effective 1st October 2023 to the RE plants in India, which was not there earlier. Thank you. So these solar and wind plants, they are co-located. How does it help? Any guess? Same switchyard, same cooling station, you have both solar and wind getting connected. How does it help? To the transmission network. It increases the utilization of transmission network. Because alone solar will be utilized only in the daytime, and wind will be round the clock, go up and down. When you add both of them, overall utilization rate of the transmission network goes up, and therefore the overall rupees per megawatt hour rate of transmission charges would be on a lower side. Now, here what is there is, if the assumed interconnection cost at each individual site is doubled. So for example, you install solar and wind separately. Suppose 100 megawatt solar and 200 megawatt wind. If you install at separate location, you would have to incur capacity cost, capex, for putting up transmission substation and lines. In solar it will be up to 100 megawatt or maybe 10% overload, and wind also 200 megawatt plus 10% overload separately. But suppose it is a common location, only one investment of 200 megawatt plus overload capacity will be sufficient. 200 plus 100 megawatt capacity would be sufficient to meet the combined solar and wind generation. Again, here in this case, 300 megawatt will not be required, because you can do a capacity analysis whether at that point when the solar is generating 100 megawatt, what is the generation capacity of wind typically? May not be 200. But if you do individually, you have to design the transmission line for the maximum rated capacity. There comes the optimization here. Okay, so what is written over here? Avoidance of investment in new transmission substations and lines, better capacity utilization factor of the lines, better profile fitment with the load curve, optimal levelized cost of electricity. These are the benefits of co-located. Now, these are sites with solar PV between 20% and 80% of the total combined capacity. Okay, suppose combined capacity is 100, so solar will range between 20 to 80 megawatt, and the rest comes from wind. This is as per MNRE hybrid policy, which is there. MNRE is Ministry of New and Renewable Energy, Government of India. Now what it says is, the number of suitable hybrid sites triples if the total nationwide potential increases from 49 to 87 gigawatt wind and from 32 to 99 gigawatt solar PV. If the assumed interconnection cost at each individual site is doubled, that means at each site individual separately, if the cost of putting up a 100 megawatt transmission substation, suppose it is now X, if it increases to 2X, then so much co-located wind and solar capacity sites become viable. That means unlocking. So you see here, it was this much, here you have so many sites. Only difference is the transmission substation cost is doubled in this case, and therefore you have so many sites. It's all about commercial viability. Okay. Now, so this is co-located, and the other one which I was talking about is complementary profile. So here it is co-located, there could be other Odisha sites which can complement the Telangana side or Tamil Nadu side or maybe Karnataka side. Okay. Now this is as per a firm and dispatchable renewable electricity construct is as per the Ministry of Power Government of India guidelines June 2023.
So in previous slide, what is CUF?
Capacity utilization factor. Capacity utilization factor. So suppose your solar plant is 100 megawatt AC and total annual generation is say X MUs. So capacity utilization factor would be X MUs divided by capacity, a number of days. Okay. So here the construct is very simple. There is already a policy and several RFPs have been floated. And the idea was that you have solar, wind, hydro, etc. in different parts of the country, and all are connected through transmission network. And you build a mega RE plant, which will comprise of say wind in Karnataka, solar in Rajasthan, along with coupled with battery storage. I'm just taking examples. And then you also deep dive into the power market, purchase for making up the schedule. For example, I told you in the winter months wind is not blowing. Where do you maintain that schedule from? So you purchase from the market. When you mix them, individual high price resources, ultimately when you create an RE product, it will be a very optimal price, utilizing the transmission substation network across the country. So this policy is now already there and there are tenders, and then this is called supply side aggregation, complementarity. Similarly on the demand side also 3 discoms and corporates can come together. This is just an illustration, it could be 1 discom, 2, 3, 4, 5, whatever. And their demand profiles are complementary and they can aggregate together so that there is a matching between the aggregated RE profile and aggregated demand profile. More the matching, lower the tariff. Okay, and this is done to replace or abate coal. As you know, solar alone, wind alone can't replace coal. So they have to be mixed, matched with other sources as well, hydro, battery and all. And then you will have a flexible load profile which is able to, firm load profile, firm as well as flexible, to replace coal, okay? So, and this is a fixed levelized cost of electricity for the entire period of PPA, say for example 20 to 25 years. This is already happening. What are the challenges due to large scale GRE penetration? How much time do we have? What is the time now? 5:40? 6. It's already time. Right, let me take maybe 5 more minutes is fine with you? 5-10 minutes? So I'll close at 6:10, just let me know. Challenges due to large scale VRE penetration in the grid. So there were incidences, 31 events in India between these periods from above 1 gigawatt renewable power plants in Rajasthan. These are the 5 reasons why they happen. Broader region, class of reasons, right? Now I have taken an example where it was due to fault external to RE plant. In Bhadla is a place in Rajasthan. This is a point of common coupling, 400 kV. And these are Bhadla RE complex, different plants are there. These are different RE plants of different companies. Then 220 kV, stepping up to 400 kV, and then going up, going out. Okay, Bikaner, PG, etc. This is what is happening. Now, on 15th of May 2023, there was a loss of RE generation of about 7 gigawatt at 11:52 AM. This is the sequence of events. There was a YV phase to phase fault, inclement weather condition. Then bus voltage dips to 0.65 below LVRT threshold. Okay, and therefore if it is below the LVRT threshold, it should trip or decouple. voltage shoots to 1.1 pu after fault clearances within 160 milliseconds. 1.1 pu is fine, it should sustain, we saw in the table earlier. So up to 1.1 if the voltage is there, it should remain, it should not decouple from the grid. Now 7120 gigawatt of generation loss occurred, frequency dropped from 0.5 Hz to 8 Hz. That is from 49.98 to 49.40, triggering the under frequency load shedding in some pockets. Okay, tripping of multiple lines happened, and you see here when the generation dropped from 17 gigawatt to 10 gigawatt, it could recover a bit, then again fell. It could never recover fully. Then again plateaued around say 10,000 megawatt for the day. Okay, this is the time axis. It never could recover. Okay. What could be the reason? Non-satisfactory active reactive power response during LVRT of multiple plants. Some plants were responsive, some were not. Some of them either recovered to their pre-fault value with delay or did not recover at all. If you see here, recovery has happened, but all the plants never recovered. Some of them, these are the number of plants. Okay, some of them did, some of them not. Because all of them belong to different RE developers. Some of their inverters might be compliant, some of them were not. Okay, non-satisfactory during HVRT. There were few places where although the POI voltage was neither crossing LVRT or HVRT threshold, they responded spurious signal. So what they were doing is they were taking voltage signal reference from the respective injection point here instead of they should have taken from here. Okay, but there are line losses here. So voltage drop will be there. Okay. Then majority of inverters could not recover their active power to the pre-fault within 1 second, which is a requirement of CA technical regulations which I told you earlier. Cumulative impact of reduced RE generation coupled with non-satisfactory reactive power caused the triggering of over-voltage setting of ESP transmission line, and loss of removing lines also happened. Now, if the inverter-based resources, these are all IDR, static devices, would have ride through the fault successfully, then sufficient generation would have been again become available. That means recovery would have happened. 17 went to 10 came, remained there, should not have been there. Okay, so what is the idea? Now, these are the different balancing controls. REMCs are there in the country, Renewable Energy Management Centers, which are responsible for forecasting and scheduling. Okay, they provide services.
Sorry, sir. Once again you can.
Sorry.
What you told us.
Okay. What I am telling is grid balancing and control.
The name of the organization.
REMC, Renewable Energy Management Center. You can Google it, REMC India, you get it. REMC is better RE generation forecasting and weather modeling. So grid forming inverters, strengthening provision of frequency control, auxiliary service, reliability service, expanding balancing area, supplementary devices in RE-rich grids. All these initiatives are being undertaken to ensure that those conditions which happened in Rajasthan never got repeated. Okay. This talks about that storage need not be the first solution you should jump to. X-axis is the type of intervention to ensure flexibility and integration of RE. Y-axis is the cost from low to high. So as a system operator, in the grid code you would have RE forecasting, sub-hourly scheduling dispatch, expanded balancing area, that's what we are trying to do, South Asia as a grid. RE curtailment is strategic, not always. These initiatives can lead to higher RE integration. Then you have integration with the power market, improved market design, where India is working on, and there is an initiative by, I think, USA was anchoring it. South Asia market, right? So what is it? What the initiative?
Second is just working like there was a regional exchange that we are working upon.
That you are working upon, right? So the idea is to have a regional power exchange, improved energy market design, ancillary service liquidity. We have ancillary service market in India. Ancillary is a ancillary service market. Joint market operation. we are now working on market coupling. I don't know if you have a session on markets, you would have heard of market coupling in India. Okay, SCED, SCUC with the market. That is happening. Then comes flexible load. Okay, as I talked about. So demand side flexibility is also important. Then comes flexible generation, ramping from hydro resources that you guys are having, Nepal, Bhutan. Then coal ramping, then gas ramping. All these together give you the ramp rate required in the duct curve that we saw. Okay, hydro ramping is cheaper than gas, then coal. In India, this is by the way from NREL US. In India, reverse is true. The coal ramping is cheaper compared to gas because we don't have gas, we have coal. Okay, this is from US, so therefore this reverse order. Then you have network flexing, advanced network management, transmission reinforcement, transmission expansion using storage as well, instead of putting in the entire line. And then comes your storage, thermal storage, pump storage, chemical storage, electrochemical storage. The idea of this slide is to give you how many options that you as a system operator and planner have in your hand to integrate RE in a very cost optimal fashion. Okay?
So, but how much time does it consider to
How much time?
calculate the cost? It's a levelized cost based upon 25 years, 30 years.
This one, right?
So overall scenario.
Correct.
Maybe installing a new plant or storage on local or domestic side may be more beneficial in long run. In that way.
So local plant meaning in say where? Embedded in that road?
It is going to generate for a longer period.
So then the levelized cost will be lower.
Lower.
If it is going to be for longer period, LCOE will be lower. Here it is no cost or low cost. This one, first one. You see these are the lower cost here. Forecasting, you have to improve your forecasting. So if you improve the forecasting, the need for flexible resources will not be there.
How India to the focus, especially for
Solar PV systems, right? Now for solar PV systems, let me come back to this. REMCs are doing solar forecasting.
And wind forecasting. Forecasting tool basis AI enabled tool, artificial intelligence. And real-time data is being fetched from SCADA. You have weather modeling forecast also coming in here, WSP, weather service provider. And then you from the different fields, you have different inputs. And then the existing LDC SCADA, then you are generating the RE generation forecast. This is on a hourly day-ahead basis or hourly basis, or even long-term resource assessment. For example, when you are going to put up a plant, that is a long-term resource assessment. That is not the job of REMC. REMC is for day-ahead and intra-day RE balancing and forecasting. So algorithms are there to do so. And once the forecasting is done, then comes the scheduling. So from the forecasting tool, the forecasts are given to the scheduling tool. FNS. Now FNS is also getting integrated with power market operation. Real-time market is in India. So in the real time, how can you integrate market to effectively optimize the forecasting and scheduling? Is it clear?
Fine. Sorry, I think we have elapsed the time, but this is what I wanted to cover on the REMC front. Okay, so these are the different renewable energy management centers in each of the states. The red one here, okay? In RE-rich grid, you need supplementary devices, static command centers, synchronous condenser or battery energy storage. These are the features which they provided come with. Probably from power grid, some persons would have come, they would have talked about STATCOMs, have they? Static command center. So they would have explained why this is now mandatory for commissioning of a RE plant in India. Without that, nobody, CA is not going to give a certificate. And STATCOM is helping in all these ways. And now
we're talking about synchronous condenser. So the outlived thermal stations can be converted to synchronous condenser. The generators of it. How we can reuse it. And then finally the battery energy storage as well. Okay. So this is how it is being done, and this is a list of ancillary services. So this is the time axis and this is the quantum axis. In terms of first few seconds, inertial response kicks in. Thermal generators, hydro generators, they all have governor mode of action, like free governor mode. That is your inertial response. Quantum is huge, but the duration is low, spikes. Then comes your primary response. So the quantum will be slightly less than inertial, and the duration will also be slightly higher, few seconds to 5 minutes. Then comes secondary. So after the primary response ends, secondary comes in. Then fast tertiary, then slow tertiary. This is a relay race. So can you imagine, which will be more costly, this one or this one? Slow tertiary or inertial, which one will be costlier resource? Sorry, slow tertiary is costlier. Okay, any other guess? Inertial, okay. Why do you say slow tertiary?
Because using investment is required.
Using BESS? No. Here, slow tertiary meaning you can use coal. So what does it mean? It can come on bar after 15, within 15 to 60 minutes. Aram say, slowly. So battery is not required. Battery is instant. So even a coal generator satisfies here. So that is a cheaper resource. Why do you say inertial? You said inertial, right? So why inertial? You're right. During those milliseconds, right? So therefore you need to have other different technology which are fast ramping, and therefore it commands a premium. You're right. Analogies like that, if you book an airline ticket close to the day of travel, it will be costlier than compared, suppose you are booking 6 months ago. Okay, because you are booking now, right now. So that is why inertial response, inertial will be costly. Similarly, the real-time market prices, unless and until there is a weather phenomena, is more compared to day-ahead prices as we move closer to the delivery. Okay. So in India we have a concept of Tatkal train tickets. Have you heard of Tatkal? I don't know. Tatkal means instant. So suppose I want to book a journey for the month of September 10th, and I book it in the month of say August. I'll get a lower fare compared to if I want to book it on 9th. So now we close this. We talked about forecasting and scheduling. These are the key provisions for the DSM regulation. As a system operator, you should be, and this will be my last slide, you should be mindful of these three curves. First one is the area control error. If error is 0, that means your operation is very reliable. Okay, this is the condition. You are not deviating from the reliability situation. ACE is 0. And to meet that, you are also scheduling your resources economically, because your motto is economic and reliable dispatch. Okay? So that means departure or deviation from the economic dispatch is also near about 0, so therefore this is the ideal situation. In the most cost optimal fashion, you have been able to maintain the reliability of the grid. Right? In this scenario, to maintain the reliability of the grid, you have to deviate. That means you have to dispatch faster resources like battery resources, even though your slower coal, cheaper resource was available. But in the interest of grid security, you have to do this. Third condition is you allowed the grid to go unreliable. And you insisted that no, whatever be the case, I will follow the least cost method. So as a grid operator, which is your ideal case? Which one would you like to follow? A, B or C? This one.
You not follow? Sure.
Balance between A and C.
The system can collapse.
Yes. See, there is a dilemma. So between A is utopian, especially in terms of variable renewable resources that we are adding. A is very rare, very rare. But the decision between B and C, you are right. B is the scenario where you would like to stay. But there are certain places and operators where they say, no, I want to stick to this while jeopardizing this. This is not the ideal way. You're right. So B is the situation where, which is more practical. You should, if you want to study more about it, this is there. You can see the system. And thanks a lot for your patience.